So, we've looked recently in a video that I've just done at the fact that Xana's mum has been arrested. And this is charges relating to drugs. And there's mixed emotions out there because people are saying, look, the way in which this situation happened, this doesn't really have drugs written on it. This is more about emotion. This is more about someone who had an emotional connection to one or more of the victims. Now, people are saying, look, people are focusing on over here and these when you should really be looking at over here and these victims. You know, we're looking at the couple, these victims who were in a relationship together, who had been searched multiple times, over and over and over again. And people are saying, look, perhaps this is a jealous ex-partner. Perhaps this is someone who was fixated upon something they had once and lost, or was angry, this kind of thing. And they're not really feeling that this is about drugs. So they're kind of ruling out that Xana's mum and what's going on over there has anything to do with this. But I just want to put this out there. Now, we're hearing that this property, this house, was the go-to place. If you wanted to get hooked up with some party pills and, have a wild time, this was the place to go. We've also got youngsters who are in their early 20s who are buying expensive vehicles, a Range Rover and things like this. And people say, well, how are they affording all this? Is it because their parents are funding it? Is that what we're seeing? We're not seeing many of the situations in the background enough to be able to understand what the financial situation is, but we can certainly see that these victims were living quite comfortably. It wouldn't have been a very cheap property. There'd have been rent involved. There'd have been, the bills that come along with being in a property. And even if that's split 5 ways, there's still bills there. And let's not forget, these were students. They weren't in a full-time job. They weren't having a full-time income to pay. So what were they paying with? How were they paying? How are they buying the luxuries that even us who have full-time work would perhaps struggle to buy? And look, it might be simply explained by the fact that they were from wealthy families and they were being funded by their parents. But I've not seen anything to support that either. So I have to ask the question. Is it that they were funding their lifestyle in a nefarious way? And perhaps this perpetrator, it wasn't about getting back at them for perhaps owed money or lost product, and I'll get to that in a moment. Perhaps it was someone who they had a relation, someone who they knew, who had succumbed to that world and it had hit them in a negative way. Perhaps they fell ill. Perhaps they, the things that come from that nefarious world of narcotics. Perhaps it was someone who was angry that they were supplying. And again, this is all speculation, by the way. I'm not saying that we're talking about a bunch of drug dealers here. I'm just saying that in the world of narcotics, there is a lot more to consider. Was it someone who wanted some, who were going cold turkey perhaps, and they are expecting to get there and be able to get something? There wasn't anything there for them, and they were just out of their minds and lost the plot. There's a lot of things to unpack. There's a lot of things to consider. And look, it may be that this is just a complete coincidence that Xana's mum has been arrested on drugs charges. And look, she's got a rap sheet that goes back years and years and years. And it's not all simply about narcotics. There is some other things in there as well. But ultimately, when you're hearing that this property had this mentality about it, that you could go there and you could get these things, and then you hear that one of the victims' families kind of was heavily involved in it, you do have to ask the question. And when you consider that it isn't just about, oh my God, the cartels and things like that, and I've heard people say, look, this isn't a cartel hit. You know, this is we're reaching here. We're reaching by saying that it's not about that. In the last video, I at no point said that she was involved in the cartel, and this was about a cartel getting back at them. But what I am saying is, at the end of the day, these are the facts, and that is that the property was renowned for having narcotics around it. We know that many people frequented this property multiple times a week, and they kind of tried to keep it contained. So I'm guessing that was perhaps not to raise alarms, so somebody called the old bill. Who knows? But that is my understanding of it. Look, come round, we can get a load of people here, we can do what we want to do, but we've got to keep it down because we don't want the fuzzy muff arriving. Old 5-0. You know, and that's how these things go. These are the things that we're hearing. We're also, again, like the aforementioned, luxuries that not even some working people can get hold of. And these, I believe there was a purchase of a new Range Rover about to take place, or had just taken place. These things come at a cost, and you need money to buy these things. Where did the money come from? Now, there may be a lot of things that come out in the upcoming days, but these are the things that are going through my mind at the moment. The only things that I can get from this is narcotics and murder. And then scattered in amongst all that are the other little elements, such as the relationships and the potential jealousy factor, and the way in which this does seem to be, it strikes you as a little bit of a crime of passion, perhaps someone who was indeed upset. But I don't think we can rule out anything at this stage, and I think for those who have completely ruled out that this is a narcotic-related incident, I think it's very naive at this stage to do so. Because it could, like I say, this isn't, when you look in that world, it isn't just about someone owing someone money. It could be that someone relied upon what they could obtain from them to function in a non-erratic manner. And if they weren't getting what they needed, the lengths some people will go to get what they need can be catastrophic. We have to ask why the surviving members in that house called friends. They called other people before they called the police. Why was that? Is that because they knew what was going on? Did they need something to be removed from that property before the police came and did what they knew would be a search from that point? You know, did someone go to that property and leave again before the police got there? Was it about getting stories straight? I don't know. You don't know. We can only, again, speculate. But it does raise the question as to why the very first call that wasn't made wouldn't have been to the police. Let's not forget, 2 survivor members, 4 people lost their lives, a house renowned for what it was renowned for, family members who have been arrested because of it, and we've still got someone who has gone off grid and not been found yet. A lot to come, and I'll catch you all in the next one.